It's been nearly 3 weeks since the election was called for Joe Biden, and President Trump is still refusing to concede. The president finally taking questions from reporters on Thanksgiving, acknowledging that he will leave the White House while repeating baseless voter fraud claims.
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud.
Just to be clear, if the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden, will you concede?
Well, if they do, they made a mistake because this election was a fraud. So, no, I can't say that at all. I think it's a possibility. They're trying to look between you people. Don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. Don't talk to. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
Just so unacceptable to hear a president of the United States talk to anybody, especially reporters, in that manner. CNN's Kristen Holmes joins me now from the White House. Kristen, aside from that rant from the president that we heard, what more are you learning specifically about him perhaps willing to concede?
Yeah, Deanna, and I just want to take 1 minute to note that reporter Jeff Mason is a professional and he was just doing his job asking the president questions. And this is the first time the president has taken a single question since Election Day. And as you noted, most of it was spent ranting about baseless claims on widespread election fraud. Again, we cannot stress this enough. There have been numerous cases brought by the Trump campaign and Republicans that have been thrown out, dismissed, or lost by the Trump campaign because there is no evidence of this widespread fraud. Now, as you mentioned, this is the first time we have heard President Trump say that he will, in fact, leave the White House if the Electoral College certifies the election for Joe Biden in January. Take a listen.
If the Electoral College does elect President-elect Joe Biden, are you not going to leave this building?
Just so you, certainly I will. Certainly I will. And you know that. But I think that there will be a lot of things happening between now and the 20th of January. A lot of things.
Now, of course, we didn't know that. That's why they were asking. There had been a lot of speculation as to whether or not President Trump would actually leave the White House. I do want to touch on two more things that he discussed. He talked about how Joe Biden shouldn't be picking a cabinet yet, that it was inappropriate because of the election and these pending litigation and questions, which, of course, as I have just said, there really isn't anything to that. He also said that he wasn't sure, or he avoided the question on whether or not he would attend Biden's inauguration. And lastly, what I want to point out is this, that we're talking all about coronavirus today and how it is ravaging this country. And President Trump talked about how he was planning on traveling down to Georgia and indicated he would hold a rally, a big rally in Georgia to campaign for those two senators, Loeffler and Perdue, who are up for that runoff on January 5th.
Kristen Holmes, as I said in the last hour to you, some things never change. The president's still not willing to acknowledge the severity and the depth of a coronavirus virus here in the United States and the damage that it has ensued. Thank you so much.
Let me just say once again, what would happen if this was President Obama behaving in this manner, in this fashion? They would have impeached him a long time ago. This is typical white male skin privilege. Call it what it is, be honest about it. That's what's happening here. When President Obama wore a different color suit, they had a fit over that, you know, ridiculous. So let's just be honest of what's going on. Let's keep going.
Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping, one of the latest world leaders to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden, he joins a growing list of leaders to offer their congratulations. But notably missing from that list is Russian President Vladimir Putin. My next guest says not only has Putin not congratulated Biden, but that Russian media is actively pushing Trump's election fraud propaganda. Gary Kasparov is chairman of the Human Rights Foundation and is joining me now. Gary, always good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. We have seen most world leaders, including authoritarians, like I mentioned, Xi Jinping of China, Turkey's Erdogan, congratulate Biden at this point. How do you interpret Putin's silence?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this special edition. But I'm afraid I have bad news for you. I've been saying things about Putin-Trump relations for many years, and very often, you know, my warnings were overlooked. Nobody wanted to expect the worst. I think it's a very ominous sign. Putin not recognizing the reality, not recognizing Biden's victory, means that he expects Trump to go full Monty, attacking the elections. And even if Trump cannot prove anything in the courts, as we know is going to be the case, Trump will continue his campaign to delegitimize Biden and his presidency. And I think Putin knows more than he says. And his silence should tell us that he expects Trump to continue working for his interests by destroying American democratic institutions.
So let me pick up on that because I have been following you, as have many other people on Twitter, and this is what you tweeted last week. Putin is in no hurry to acknowledge Biden's victory because there's no benefit, but showing loyalty to Trump like a godfather to a foot soldier still bears fruit and likely will even after January 20th. What do you mean by that? What do you expect to see in the coming months, and what kind of damage can that relationship continue to ensue on even a Biden administration?
First of all, I know the rule. Always listen to a dictator or would-be dictator. Just, in a segment that we heard a couple of minutes ago, played by this program, Trump said, between now and January the 20th, many things would happen. And I trust him. Something is going to happen. Again, we know he's not going to succeed by changing the results of the elections, but he will be succeeding, and he's already succeeding in displaying these elections as a massive fraud in the eyes of millions, if not tens of millions of Americans. And even after January the 20th, and that's why I believe he will not show up at Biden's inauguration, because he will never concede. And there are many indications of that. And that's what Putin expects him to do, continue his attacks on American democracy and spreading the word that election was a fraud, Biden was illegitimate, and hopefully for Putin and other dictators in the world, Trump will continue his destructive work on dismantling America's image worldwide.
But unlike what Putin may want or what President Trump may want, there will be a President-elect Biden, and at some point there will have to be some sort of relationship between President Putin and President Biden. President Putin has already said that there's no point in harming the relationship now by not congratulating him because the relationship is already harmed. But what do you view the next 4 years in terms of a relationship, foreign policy-wise, between the United States and Russia to look like?
I hope there will be no relationship between, let me emphasize, President Biden and President Putin, because there's no President Putin. There is a dictator Putin. And I hope that CNN and other media outlets in America will use this language describing a ruler for life in Russia who demonstrated his disrespect for human rights, for rule of law, and also the man who has no allergy for blood, whether still in Russia or elsewhere. I'm not sure how long Putin stays in power. We know exactly that Biden, hopefully, his health will be good, as we all expect, will stay in office at least for 4 more years. With dictators, the life is different. You never know what happens next Monday. And I don't think Putin is making now long-term plans. He is now expecting Biden administration to take a much tougher stance against Russia. He knows that there will be many top officials in Biden administration who learn from Obama's mistakes and will not give Putin a free ride. And that's why I think the confrontation will only rise. And that's what Putin said. The relations already spoiled, and it's already broken, because he's not expecting to make any concessions. He's not going to accept America's demand on behalf of Ukrainians or Syrians or other people who are suffering from Putin's brazen actions. So, for instance, now Belarus, that's another example where Putin is standing by next to a Belarusian dictator who has been using brute force to subdue his people.
Well, the people who suffer the most, obviously, are the people in Russia, where the coronavirus continues to ravage and the economy continues to tank as well. Gary Kasparov, it's always great to have you on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Let me mention this. What's happening is the Southern strategy on steroids, and you can take a look at this. One helpful book is by Professor Haney Lopez, called Dog Whistle Politics: How Coded Racial Appeals Have Reinvented Racism and Wrecked the Middle Class. And basically, you have white voters voting against their own self-interest because they use the strategy of divide and conquer people of color against your white poor working class, and white working class, and white middle class, and white upper class. We're all human beings. We're all one. You know, there's one race, the human race, and if you're hungry and I'm hungry, hey, we're both hungry. Who cares what color somebody is? It doesn't make sense. And so if the Democrats are ever going to win, they're going to have to deal with the Southern strategy. They're going to have to deal with breaking down racial barriers and teaching people that there's one race, the human race. We all have a right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, where you live. That has to be the message, all right, in order to win. And you can win. What is winning? It is following Jesus' words and loving your neighbors yourself. It's following Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 25. It's making sure everyone has health care, a house to live in, clothes on their back, shoes on their feet, food in their stomach, peace everywhere. And not just in America, but throughout the entire world. That's what's so important.
Well, we have breaking news.
Alrighty, so thank you for being on my YouTube page. Have a wonderful, fantastic day.